What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Jared for all things Call of Duty and console gaming. Rep with me. Xbox had their shakeup. They're the talk of the town right now with Phil Spencer resigning, actually retiring, and Sarah Bond resigning. I have an article pulled up by Windows Central talking about Sarah Bond and how she was actually the issue. I'm gonna go through the article and then I'm gonna give my opinion. So without further ado, let's just get into it. You can always check these things out yourself. This is on Windows Central, and it says former Xbox president Sarah Bond's direction offended employees. This is an Xbox marketing campaign deemed failure. That is Sarah Bond. Phil Spencer was actually the head guy as well. He actually retired after being there almost 40 years. With Phil Spencer's departure, Xbox employees are supposedly relieved that the president of Xbox has left as well. He was supposed to step in after him. Today marks the official day of Asha Sharma as the new CEO of Xbox. This came out a couple of days ago. It was announced last Friday. Phil Spencer retired effectively today alongside former president Sarah Bond. Shakeup announced on Friday was apparently a bit rushed due to an internal leak. At least that's according to the latest report by The Verge. I'm gonna skip past that. You may have noticed that the memo that went out, I went through the memo in my previous video with messages from everyone that included Phil Spencer, Satya Nadella, I believe he's the CEO of Microsoft itself, and Asha Sharma, she's the new one that stepped into the role of CEO of Xbox. You may have noticed the missing person was Sarah Bond, whose own team was apparently caught off guard as well. Reading a little bit further, seems it wasn't just the fact that she and her team were unprepared, but rather she may have been unceremoniously said goodbye to. Not that she was fired, but many people at Microsoft didn't like her direction. Only a month removed from taking over Xbox marketing team, Microsoft delivered a marketing campaign, signaled people didn't need to buy an Xbox console anymore. The message was that you don't need an Xbox to play an Xbox because games were available through Xbox Cloud on TVs, as described in Tom Warren's report in The Verge. That's the reason why I left Xbox. In October of 2024, once they came out with the This Is an Xbox ad, I made it up in my mind that I was leaving and I grabbed the PlayStation. And it made me leave. So this was all part of Xbox Everywhere's strategy that Bond had been pursuing, a vision to move the Xbox brand beyond its roots in console hardware. Months later, and This Is an Xbox campaign launched with commercials that positioned a phone or a tablet as an Xbox instead of just a console. It was a confusing campaign, and I'm told it offended many Xbox employees eternally. It offended me. To make matters worse, it sounds as though she only surrounded herself with yes men, as those who didn't jump on board were outs. Most of the current and former Xbox employees I've spoken to in the recent days are relieved that Bond is leaving Microsoft. I've heard from multiple sources that Bond had been tough to work with and build a team structure that meant if you didn't follow the vision or question it, you were out. Even I thought the campaign was silly, as did many of our staff. Editor Jess Gordon wrote on the This Is an Xbox campaign a while back, noting that it was the wrong message to send. Xbox is the one who can define what they assume to be an Xbox. It was entirely confusing for consumers. It definitely didn't help sales of their console. And they went up in prices, don't forget that. Twice in the last 2 years. Last year. I want to add that clearly Xbox higher-ups were okay with each and every idea that was pushed forward, as they all had the final say. I was about to say, both Phil Spencer and Satya Nadella played a part in this and clearly gave the process their stamp of approval. That's big. That right there. That right there is big. Like, this right here, this is big. Make sure that's mentioned. This report by Warren only highlighted that Xbox Everywhere was her idea and not the multi-platform push or other aspects. I've seen some speculation that this is a potential hit piece by higher ups at Microsoft in an attempt to divert blame away from the brand. Could that be true? That's my opinion. That right there summarizes my opinion. How is the president? It's a collective effort. There's no way a company doesn't makes decisions. There's a sole person that makes decisions, right? It's always a team effort. I feel like Sarah Bond's being scapegoated. I don't know why. That's what I really was going to get to, in my opinion. And there's no way Phil Spencer and like Satya Nadella didn't have their hand in this, which they had to, right? And then her team being yes men. I mean, come on. I don't know. Again, I wasn't with the campaign. I'm not arguing for it. This is an Xbox was terrible. I'm an Xbox console player. I cared about console. They weren't delivering. They basically were saying they were walking away from the console, so I walked away. But this is just interesting to read how I think she's being a scapegoat. However, Sarah Bond was still president of Xbox since 2023. In that position, she held power and made decisions that affected Xbox as a whole. From 2023 on, we saw many of these multi-platform pushes beyond the initial PC offerings. Microsoft's multi-platform push began before Sarah Bond's tenure as well, with Microsoft exclusive Quantum Break hitting PC a while before she even started the job. Well, there's been a push since 2020 to add xCloud access on Xbox Play Anywhere to PC. It's clear that Xbox Everywhere marketing push alienated fans and was a step too far for many. The way I can best describe it is that the other platforms initially felt like a companion to Xbox hardware, whereas the Xbox Everywhere marketing felt like an attempt to abandon traditional hardware. One thing for sure, is not fair for Sarah Bond to be taking all the blame, even if this was ultimately her marketing decision. Others in the chain of command at the end of the day are there to say yes or no to the decisions that don't otherwise align with the brand. So I'm glad they said that, because she's definitely being scapegoated. And I come on now. It's a collective effort. No way she was just like kicking people out if they didn't agree with her and the only one that needs to get the blame. They didn't even mention her in the memo though. When they just dropped this on Friday, it was like she dropped her own LinkedIn post saying like, yo, I'm stepping down. They mentioned her. They didn't even mention her in the memo. It's kind of crazy how they did it. Well, I've heard from some insiders that Phil Spencer's departure wasn't a random sudden event. That didn't stop some rumors circulating over the weekend that it was a recent decision, like that of the Kind of Funny podcast, where the host Greg Miller said he received some information that pointed to this being more of an ousting rather than a friendly goodbye. Phil Spencer's a gamer. This is Phil Spencer. This dude's a gamer. He cared about games, could track games, played games, did the podcast with all the content creators that I see on YouTube. I didn't have a problem with him. The whole, we're only going to move 4 games over to other platforms, it's not aging well right now. They ended up really becoming a third-party publisher, putting their games on not only PC, but day and date. They come out on PlayStation, Nintendo, and Steam. So like, again, that doesn't only fall on him. Someone else had to be in the room to make the decision as well. Wasn't random. There's a lot that goes into this, and that's pretty much it. Towards the end of the article. So my main thoughts are Sarah Bond can't take all the blame. She's being scapegoated. It's interesting that they didn't mention her in the memo. It's a collective effort to make these decisions. If she pushed for the Xbox Everywhere or Everything's an Xbox campaign and someone disagreed at the higher ups, they could easily say, nah, we're not going that route. They must have had that in the works for some time. And at the end of the day, she's being scapegoated as the reason why. And employees, I guess, didn't mess with her. I'm not buying that. I don't like it. It's throwing dirt on her name. Um, Shouts out to Phil Spencer. He held Xbox down for almost 40 years. If you don't know who that is, just look him up. He's actually like a real gamer, cared about Xbox from day one. So uh kudos to him. I think he was a cool dude and helped grow the brand of Xbox. At the end of the day, I'm an Xbox guy at heart. I really am. I'm on the PlayStation now. So it's kind of like, dang, you really left. This is the ad in 2024. They dropped the ad saying everything's an Xbox, and it really made me mad. And I left after I've owned every single Xbox. So interesting this stuff come out. Let me know in the comments below what you think. I appreciate anyone that ever checks this video out. I'm always on. I'm always repping. Y'all have a good one.